I bought this backpack a year ago to go on a trip, and given that I was buying it in a hurry and after multiple hours figuring out what I wanted online, I ended up getting this. And while it served its purpose for the trip, really, this frame is a small medium frame, and I'm rather tall, so it worked, but just barely. So given that, I needed to purchase a new one. And while this backpack did work, there's a couple things about it that when I was searching for the new one, I knew I was searching for very specific things that this one didn't have, but I really valued in a backpack. The first of them is kind of a adjustable brain. When this one comes up, it just like sewed on directly to here, which, okay, that works fine, but what if, let's say you're going on a longer trip, and these are what I'd call like medium-sized backpacks, about 50 liters plus or minus. Okay, I can get this. I think these straps should work. Well, these straps don't even work fully. Might be able to get it in. Well, but let's say this did work. I didn't test everything out before starting filming. But this is sticking out to where my head would be. Like, if that's out there, that's in my head. And so that's rather annoying. However, if you can get that to be adjustable, like this backpack, and these are filled to similar levels. This one actually has a strap I can put around this with some fussing. Extend this up to carry a lot more. And while fundamentally this is a sizing issue, I can get a lot more volume out of, okay, a slightly larger, but mostly similar size backpack. Well, this is an extreme example of how much you might want to put there, and I generally try to pack this pack a little bit less if I was intending to carry a bare barrel or bare cask up there. Oftentimes on trips, we'll end up in situations where, though we might ideally fit everything in the main backpack, for some reason or another, whether it's another person that you're on the trip with is having trouble and you need to take some of their stuff, or any number of reasons, you need to carry a lot more than you kind of originally intended with the backpack you were bringing. So having this ability to expand is very useful, just so that this doesn't hit you in the back of the head when you're carrying it. You can get this straight on top. And well, yeah, with this one you could take everything out of this brain and get it nice and flat, so it wouldn't be much of an issue. This is because these are like some of your like nice smaller pockets. It's kind of hard to like give them up. You want to use them as much as possible because they're where you can put all your little odds and ends stuff and not get lost in the rest of the pack. Another issue with this pack is that the pockets expand inwards. As in, well, I can get this quart bottle, which to me is kind of your minimum size that you should be able to get in. I can get it in, and while this does expand out some, this like side water bottle pocket, it's mostly trying to push it in. And I haven't packed this as dense as for this example, as dense as I often would on a trip, so I can actually get this in, but I kind of have to underpack the main body of this pack in order to use these side pouches. I have to leave some squish to it in order to get this water bottle in, whereas with this pack, and this is actually packed denser, big pocket, easy to push it in. It's I find it very it's useful because I can use kind of more, I can fully fill the inside pack, because if I'm just trying to jam stuff in, it's just like kind of the nature to try to jam as much stuff in as tight as possible, because if you have limited space, you're trying to use all the space you have. And then once you're done fitting that all in, you're trying to get this stuff, like get your water bottle in or anything else. Like this outside pocket, it's I've this is that other one was my first pack with one like this. I can stuff like shoes in here because I don't want shoes on the inside of my pack, and I want them to be exposed and able to dry out my like spare shoes if I'm hiking, and I can get them in here with a fully packed pack. This pack also has like an outside thing, and it's not a mesh, which the mesh, this will probably last longer. It won't be as, the mesh will wear out sooner. But I can expand these out to actually, to get some of that space, but, and I can fit shoes in here, but like even with these buckles expanded out so these straps are loose, there just isn't quite as much space. In order to get kind of the full value of this pocket, you need to have it like push into the body of the pack, and this lower part, there's nothing that's going to let that expand outward. So unless you can push stuff into the body of the pack, this like bottom half of this pocket is pretty much useless. So that was kind of the second feature, which is admittedly a considerably harder to judge shopping online. One of the things that both these packs have, and it seems to me like most modern packs, is this kind of open up the pack, get inside it, big front access cover. I don't find much use to it. I just consider this zipper extra weight and something that can potentially fail. I don't ever use it, and that comes down to how I like work on packing my pack, which is I have this dry bag which I put inside the main compartment, and then I'll put my sleeping pad, tent if it's dry, or the parts of it that are dry, and sleeping bag, double bagged, and then stuff some clothing in here, maybe have a little clothing stuff sack, just to get everything inside this bigger dry bag, and then I can double bag, dry bag it just to have extra security, because I live on the East Coast in an area that it can rain any day. And so I'm used to being very conscious about my waterproofing. So while, yeah, I can understand this like side hatch to be useful if, let's say I was doing a lot of flying and using this pack as just kind of like a pack to use not as backpacking where I'm concerned about it getting wet. This kind of turns it into a duffel bag. But for backpacking, I don't see much value in this kind of full open zipper aspect to it. One of the things I don't really like about this pack is these water bottle holders. When I put a water bottle in, there's this gap in here. What this is designed for, I'm pretty sure, is that you can stick a water bottle in sideways and it's easier to get out. Now, yeah, that if I put this on, that like I'm getting a water bottle into the top, that definitely takes some dexterity to get it in, and getting it into the sides a little bit easier. But it's not a lot easier. It's definitely a little easier, and my concern is that if I'm stuffing stuff in here that I want to keep on the outside, like my stove and fuel bottle, which I don't want inside my pack in case they leak or just kind of residual vapor fumes, well, these have stuff that I can strap these into. I want maybe a little bit more security than having a, fairly gaping hole in the side of this, that this could slip out, and if I didn't quite get that in, because this is actually not super great at that, it could slip out and I could lose it. I think what I'm actually going to do for this is sew it up. And this has some dual use functionality that it can be used as a top or a side, which is definitely better than this other pack, which has a side water bottle holster that really can't be used for anything else. And I'm part of this dislike of this feature is that these side water bottle pockets are not all that critical to me. I do generally try to carry a water bottle with me when I'm backpacking, but my primary method of hydration is a hydration bladder, which would get stuffed in the center of this, which is definitely, this isn't filled, it's easier to stuff them in when they're filled, but I like to keep a water bottle as kind of a secondary, just because I don't know how fast I'm going through this as opposed to a water bottle. I can kind of see it's a backup reserve when I don't have a gauge on this, like before they had gauges on fuel tanks. But these pockets are very useful for stuffing a huge variety of other stuff. Yes, this is, I think, good, okay, if you're using it just as a water bottle pocket, but if you're trying to do other stuff that you really don't want to fall out and you don't need handy, it's not something that I particularly appreciate, and I'm going to sew this up. Kind of another modification I think I'm going to make for this backpack is it has a like a hook, very aggressive hook on here, which looks like it's designed to work with a particular hydration bladder system, but mine, the one I have, doesn't fit in that, and it does have like a secondary strap with a little adapter piece I can fit mine onto and hold it up so it doesn't collapse. Not that actually like holding it up is better, but it can also work without doing that. So for me, that's not that useful, and kind of the disadvantage is I've actually scuffed my hands on this several times while I've been both using this pack once before this and prepping for this video. So one of the things is that when I first got this newer pack, it tells it comes with a rain cover, which is good to have a rain cover that properly fits your pack. For example, my other one, I have a rain cover I found elsewhere, and that is a large pack, but it also, the rain cover is even larger somehow, and it's kind of a little bit unwieldy. And this one comes out, and it has a cross strap for good attachment. It's not going to like blow off once it's on, and yeah, there's a little tag on here, which I guess is for in-store marketing, to make you aware that there's a rain cover in this pocket, which I wouldn't store a rain cover in here. And so it made me a little bit like, well, it's like, why would I store a rain cover in here where it's like, well, there isn't anything wrong with storing a rain cover in here. It's just I find this is like the really valuable, accessible part of the pack. As opposed to this one, the old one has this little pocket down here and a rain cover, and it's like, oh, it has a pocket specifically designed for it in a place that's kind of good for that, and not using it for anything else. But, and well, there is the advantage that this has a tether, so even when you're putting it on, if you lose your grip on it or you're in strong winds, it's not going to blow off, which my new pack doesn't have that. But then I realized, like, this is a whole new pocket, a whole other zipper, that this pocket isn't really useful for anything else other than the rain cover. It's like really just designed and sized for the rain cover. So, well, yeah, there's some advantages to having a kind of specific pocket for the rain cover. It also means you have a whole pocket dedicated entirely for your rain cover, as opposed to this one where, yeah, you could put your rain cover in there, or you could stuff your rain cover in here, or you could even, if you know you have a little bit of space in your bottom access hatch, which I do find some use with, even though I don't use it so much, you can put it in there and know that you have access to it. You can just find a space that works well for your rain cover, as opposed to having to use the one little pocket that doesn't really have any other use. And when I'm talking about what I find important in these packs, that's truly what I find important. For example, all of these packs have pretty decent little like hip belt pockets, and that's not something I care about. Yeah, I'll store some stuff in here, but it's not something I care about, because to be honest, if I'm going through the effort of having a snack or I'm probably going to be taking off my pack to get a rest break. I'm not likely to eat a snack, which is what I mostly would store in here, like just on the walk. I'd want to take a rest break because when you're backpacking, you want to have an excuse to take a rest break often. And so, at least I find that often. So it's not something I care about, but something my mom finds incredibly useful to have these hip belt pockets, and she cares a lot about having good ones on her packs. But it's not something that I care about. So these, what I'm talking about is what's important versus what I don't care about. That's from my. I definitely have some experience backpacking, but haven't done a massive amount of backpacking. I'm not super experienced, so it's from what I find useful as opposed to um, not finding useful or finding inconvenient.